just probably, I can just recap a lot of that, skip all that, and we will just start an intro here. So welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and especially Advanced Battlefield Command and Tactics. And we have acquired some help here in this Aserai Bandit rebellion here. We have created a couple more clans, and we're hoping that they start to defend out east while we head west. I have created, what do we got going on here? There's a small army here helping or attacking some looters here, so we'll destroy them quickly. But I have created two different player clans to augment our third player clan. So we now have Wrath of the Homeless, let's see, the Golden Beach Bums, and the Spicy Vendors, using two of our companions, Zahara Spice Vendor and Wahan the Golden, who were featured in the last campaign. They are now clan owners in this campaign. I just couldn't do it alone. Of course, they do have a few troops, but I was, from the normal Aserai line, but I was able to shove them full of bandits. So she's off to a roaring start over here. She's running from looters, it says, but I think eventually her army is going to be big enough to help us in this campaign. Now we're going to head west. We're essentially hoping that she guards the east. Now we gave away a couple more cities. Quyaz we gave away, and then also Ayakis. We gave away Hubyar. So I'm going to continue to pile up troops here as we go. Our army is now full. We have a new companion, or at least an old, I think she's a wife of a companion leading one of our armies. And we're hoping out east, Zahara the Spice Vendor can slow things down. In fact, there's a village already under attack. She's actually gathering right near the village that's under attack. So hopefully we have some dogs and some friends in this fight. We're going to try to make our way up to Barihal Castle's under siege here. And so again, welcome back again to this Aserai Bandit revolution, looter revolution, as we continue to try to expand our revolution, fighting these very 5 powerful kingdoms. In many ways, this is the hardest campaign I've ever done, just because of the pressure provided by these 5 different kingdoms. We have most of the Aserai territory, but again, we're being attacked by the Khazate, the Western Empire, the Northern Empire, the Southern Empire, and the Aserai, and it has been a permanent onslaught especially since Khazate declared war on us. Now, I would imagine this is Northern Empire here at Barihal Castle. I glanced at it but didn't look closely, and it is indeed. And it's a good-sized force, and it's a strong force, but I think this is an example where we want to fight outdoors. If we go inside this castle, we will lose about 150 troops, plus whatever we lose in the siege, so we're going to attack them here in the open. And I think after this, we're going to try and take Quyaz. These Northern Empire fucks have really been pushing in on our western borders here. Now that I have some help on the other side of the map, I'm eager to give these guys a beating, kind of one-on-one. Obviously, we were running back and forth there. We'll do these perks mostly later on. I've got Calharn. Calharn is a brother of the main character. He's leading one of the armies. We are developing him as a good army leader. But of course, since he's a brother, he can never recruit his own army. He can be recruited into armies, but he can't make his own. Now we're going to add this Manavliaton. Where's it at here? Here we go. The Grim Reaper. It's a nice long polearm. While we're leveling up our polearm skill, we want a longer polearm. That way we're less vulnerable up close to the enemy. Of course, normal player damage for all these battles. Let's take a look at the battlefield here and see what kind of tactics we can do. Of course, you guys are watching Tactical Enlightenment. If we were not giving you guys tactics here, this would just be the Enlightenment with Voltaire and Diderot, and there would be revolution and shit like that without the combat tactics, right? You guys are primarily here for combat tactics. And we will continue to ramble on about various different things, be it the French Revolution, other revolutions, philosophies on everything from the SAD American diet, right? The standard American diet, it makes the acronym SAD. We will ramble about various different things as my mind sort of, hums along here for this battle. This gal's new, Alkira the Shield Maiden. We just picked her up and threw on some armor on her. Again, going with the theme, almost all of our troops here have like a leathery type armor. And look at all these Boer champions. We hit one more castle that had a few more, and we have been slowly recruiting them. That's amazing. We still have some 60 Boer champions, or at least Boer units. Some of them are just the lower tier, the Boer veterans. Now we're starting to really develop a killer army here. We have all these women with their two-handed weapon, and I think they have between like 100 and 150 two-handed skill. So they're quite deadly, wielding their axes and sledgehammers and stuff like that. And they are turning into the shock part of a shield and shock attack. In the center, we have our 1st Division, of course, more defensive. They have some javelins. And then the 6th Corps is more skirmishers, and a lot of them actually have two-handed weapons as well. Now I'm going to use this ridge that's right between us and the enemy here and basically create a peekaboo ridge, a reverse slope decline. It's not as steep a slope as you would like, but I think it's going to be very effective. In fact, let's try a ring defense here. There's enough guys here with the shield. Unfortunately, there's some normal units that they've snuck in. My naughty companions continue to recruit troops. I think they're getting a lot of them as prisoners. When we attack an army and they have 40 prisoners and regular troops, all of a sudden we have, these are Drudziniks. They're sneaking in, but I'll continue to do the best I can to remove them as we can. All right, so nice shield out in front, or rather a circle out in front, and then we're going to put our infantry divisions in tight shield walls with the 3rd Corps behind here, right? The shock troops, archers in the middle, the crossbow off to the left there, and then I will probably get skirmishers, this 6th Division, again, towards the enemy in a tight shield wall. Right, that way those guys can block a lot of arrows. The enemy's sending in horse archers. So we will have a little bit of a counter fire here with our 7th and 8th Corps. Let's see how the enemy approaches us here. If they don't attack, of course, we'll change our strategy. But they have a lot more troops than us, or at least significantly more troops. And there's a pretty decent chance they're going to attack. Indeed, they are pouring over the ridge already. I looked at it briefly, and it looked like they had a bunch of infantry. In fact, that's more than a bunch of infantry. That's a gigantic amount of infantry. So we're going to do just a standard kill box here. This is going to be savage. All right, let's go ahead and square the 6th and the 1st. We'll pour the 6th into the actual circle itself. The 6th, I'm actually getting stuck in the 6th square here. That's how effective it is. I can't even move. Those guys are throwing javelins. I want the 1st in the circle. That way the enemy's sort of stuck in the circle, and our shock troops inside the circle here will have some protection. The archers will just kite. 5th Corps gets pulled behind the ring here. This 6th Corps will bring it up on the side of the enemy in a square. I keep running into our own troops, but again, that shows you how effective that ring circle defense is. Now, this 3rd Corps is going to be doing major damage here, right? So we will collapse upon the enemy from the enemy's right flank. Let's give these enemy archers some targets. We'll just stick to 8th Corps in their face in a shield wall. And I think it's time to get dirty here with these ladies, right? These are dirty ladies. They're all about trash talk and fucking mauling people, cutting their skulls open. So we're going to flank hard here. The 6th is on the other side. And I probably should have waited just a little bit longer for the enemy infantry to engage our squares more thoroughly. But, you know, sometimes there's a premature ejaculatory charge. And that's what's going on here. Of course, Hugh the Hammer is a god of war, right? This guy literally, despite his mediocre armor, he just wades through and crushes everything in sight. Look at this zerg of infantry they have here. Our ladies come roaring up. They're getting smoked. I see them getting hit in the face with javelins. It's all right. It's just a flesh wound, a javelin right to the forehead. In they come with me. It's a joy fighting hand-to-hand with these gals. They're in here wailing away with their hammer. I'm in here. Come get some Manavliton, you bitches. And we like it, right? The enemy gets immolated. Now, quite a bit of death here. I was a little bit early. I probably should have waited an extra 5 seconds, but there's all these hot chicks. Sometimes you just get impatient. You're like, damn, look at all the hot chicks there. Let's just roar in. Look at them fucking guys up with their axes. Fucking love it. In fact, shit. Where's our 8th Corps? Our 8th Corps off to the left. These women are in between. Let's just charge. We're going to take losses here. These gals have no armor. Yeah, these poor gals here. Sorry, ladies. These gals are all going to get smoked. They have no armor, and we're charging archers. I didn't get my cavalry division ahead of us here, and you see the losses. This is the difference, right? This is why you got to protect them. We will learn from this battle. We should still be able to win, but I definitely botched this secondary stage here. Get cut down. In fact, at least he didn't groan and get killed there. A little sloppy battle here to start today's episode, but shows you how delicate these units are, right? If you don't make precise movements with your units, you get killed. Bannerlord is a very, very hard game. I do understand that we make it look easy. When you have the right techniques and the right units, it is easy. If you make little mistakes, and here, depending on your perspective, that's a small mistake, not having shields out in front of these women. We've probably suffered an additional 100 or 150 casualties there. Still going to win this battle handily, but it does show you the precarious nature of Bannerlord. Women charging up here. I have played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 just a little bit. Don't know if I'm ever going to turn that into something for the channel. It doesn't really fit. Of course, I would love your opinion on that. I can't imagine that I'm actually going to show you guys anything that you guys don't know. But it's an interesting game, and it does remind me of that. That was an unforgiving encounter there. The enemy's pulling way back. Usually they're routing when they're doing this. They got a couple lords running around. But usually when they run to the very edge of the map, that means they're all trying to get off the map, right? This battle should be over. This lord is over here wailing on our mounted ransackers. Well, they're putting up a little bit of fight right at the edge of the map here, but our women with their axes, I think, just arrived. The Iron Maidens scoring some kills, and that should be that. But Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, as a player who never played KCD 1, you know, I have very little experience, and I haven't played a lot of those kind of games in my life. I played Skyrim, what is it, the Elder Scrolls, like forever ago. As there's one guy here going to get hit with 80,000 javelins. Thank goodness there's no friendly fire, or we would have just killed half our army by shooting at each other. But victory is achieved here. And not too bad, right? 92 deaths. Some of those were probably those angry housewives that I sent up there. This is unfortunate. Enough of their forces... See, this shouldn't be a thing. They retreated, and yet somehow they're still sieging. We've got some units that are sneaking in here. I think I'll just stall for a little bit, so hopefully my main character, Hugh the Hammer, is healthy, and we will dispatch them. Although, I guess we outnumber them 2-1, and I suppose the garrison will sally out as well. This shouldn't be a thing. They retreated after we attacked them, and somehow they're able just to, retreat to their siege weapons? Yeah, it is what it is. Nobody said Bannerlord was this amazingly logical game. But Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is quite unforgiving, right? If I go out and play my little save game and understand I've got like 7 hours played, I attack the wrong guy and that motherfucker fights like a demon. And even if I block and parry and riposte and do some other shit, I get my ass kicked over and over again. Obviously have a lot to learn. Bannerlord is the same way. I still remember, friends, running around getting beat down by looters. I still remember the very first time I was on a horse and I was like, what the fuck are they throwing at me? Trying to stab them in the face with a spear. And these looters would just consistently give me the rock ignominious beat down. Just hundreds of rocks being thrown until you're taken prisoner by looters. It's a hard game. So if you're playing Bannerlord still, and some of the combat that we're showing here, it seems impossible or really difficult. It is, but of course practice makes perfect, and I'm sure someday, well, we'll see. Someday I'll probably be a lot better at Kingdom Come Deliverance. All right, even out some units here. Apologies for these little housekeeping things here. It's just a necessary part of the campaign. My dipshit companions are obstinately still recruiting high-end troops here. So we will do just a little bit of group maintenance here, search through just for 30-60 seconds here, fix some of this stuff, and then move on. But I think Quyaz is the target. They do have a castle. They have Ein Belik castle as well. But I find if you have a choice between a city and a castle, it's usually better to take the city because the city is more defendable. And what I mean by that is if we can take Quyaz, we will have sort of gained a big footprint towards destroying our foes in the northwest here. This is really turning into a grind because of all these different kingdoms attacking us. I did not anticipate 5 kingdoms, including kingdoms that are a long ways away, declaring war on us. But again, that is very similar to the French Revolution. We've talked about it before. If you've watched any of this series, the Duke of Brunswick, saying that he would burn Paris to the ground if anybody helped the French Revolution. Very realistic that when kings are threatened, a lot of times nationality just goes away. Like today nationalism is a bigger thing, especially, unfortunately, it's starting to grow in Western culture. People forget that nationalism leads to war, and we've had a long period of peace. We could really do with less nationalism. I have a firm belief that the difference between people who live in France and America is just a different language. It's not like there are massive differences between the people themselves. Anyways, we won't go too far off the deep end there. But nationalism wasn't that big of a deal back in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. So when there were revolts, the kings and queens and dukes and whatnot, the nobility, basically saw all the peasants, including their own, as the enemy. And they would eagerly seek help from other noble families. You would have essentially your own king, coming to the rescue of your enemy to try to put down their peasant revolts. Pretty distressing indeed. All right, let's try to get to Quyaz here in a hurry. I feel really encumbered. We're going to have to at some point go through and thin out some of our inventory. She looks like she's being threatened. She's kind of jockeying back and forth, but ultimately her presence there is going to slow down the enemy, right? If she's getting pushed into Razi by an army, you guys know how it works, right? She gets pushed into the city with her 400 troops, and then they can't siege, right? If it's an army of 1,100 or something and she goes in with her 400 and something, suddenly the AI says, well, we can't siege anymore. And so just her presence over there is slowing down the enemy. Like, it's making a significant difference. And we were having some issues here, some herding issues, right? We're getting all these loot horses. We're getting all these sheep and shit. So we'll have a little slaughter here. And I'm going to definitely sell a lot of this shit at Quyaz. We got to lighten our load here a little bit because, of course, speed is imperative when you're being attacked by so many different kingdoms. I really do need to move fast in between objectives here. There's all these Northern Empire armies running around. We definitely don't need to scare 6 or 7 of these inside the city. It already looks like there's an Aserai force or two just fucking camped out inside there. And of course, the Aserai is our enemy. So that means, unfortunately, we're going to have to fight them. Look at these fucks all retreating like roaches to the city. Well, we're going to give this a shot here. We have nearly our full strength army. It's almost 1,000 troops. By the time we heal, it'll be almost 1,000. And we have, some strategies starting to develop here. Of course, Hugh the Hammer, much like the previous campaign with Wazuban, Hugh the Hammer is a siege master, right? This guy, when he was a noble a long time ago, right? He studied and was learning all about fucking Vauban and all the other people that were 800 years after this game was... after the year that we're playing here. You know what I mean, though, right? This guy's been learning all the shit that they taught the nobility as they were growing up. And that was a thing, right? Very frequently, kings, queens, princes, they were learning the art of siege with little toy weapons and little castles and props and stuff like that, because it was just an automatic thing, right? These parents, the retinues of these people, they knew that they were going to be leaders of war down the road, right? And so they got a completely different education than, say, the clergy or other people. They were learning all kinds of Roman, they were learning languages today that are kind of dead languages, right? They were learning Greek languages and just all kinds of things that sort of dated back to that era, the great Roman era there. Our wife is having babies here. That's great. Probably won't matter at all, but that's a nice touch. The aristocracy, of course, they were learning in many cases about things that today might perplex us a little bit. They were learning all about art because it was a standard thing to be considered sort of a cultured king, queen, prince, or whatever. You had to have good taste. And of course, I'm referring more to the 15th, 16th, 17th century than the 11th century. Right? There wasn't the great art in the 11th century. It was waiting for the Renaissance before sort of the very high-end art started coming out. If you don't know much about the Renaissance and the Reformation, the relationship between those two, maybe I'll rant. I guess it's not a rant. Maybe we'll just ramble a little bit about those two. It really, one sort of caused the other. Not directly, but sort of indirectly. In a 30-second nutshell, right, your cliff notes is that the church was getting a gigantic amount of money as population recovery after the Black Plague really started to mean more people was more taxes. There was a period where the weather was really nice for a couple hundred years, and that obviously led to population increase. There was a lot more order in the 12th, 13th, 14th century than 500 years before with the Dark Ages and the barbarians rampaging. And the church started to pull in major money. And one of the net effects of that, of course, was that they started creating gigantic, beautiful cathedrals. And thank goodness we have those today. But they started spending just insane amounts of money, not just on the cathedrals, but the art and the adornment of those cathedrals. And eventually they got a little bit carried away. What I mean by that is basically they sort of fell in love with that, right? Anybody who's been around great art or seen someone who's like an obsessive collector or something, that's kind of what happened. And they just, all of a sudden, the next thing you know, they were selling indulgences, I think is the word for it, where basically you could commit sins as a noble and then just give the church money. And it was as good as not committing those sins in the first place. So suddenly it's pay to pork the mistress day, and everybody just sends more and more money to the church. The next thing you know, of course, the church is just insanely wealthy. And they're starting to live very secular lives. They had all kinds of concubines. Maybe I'll ramble a little bit about some of the popes in the early 1500s and try not to offend all the Catholics, but this is history, right? These guys were basically warlord popes, sort of masquerading as these religious icons. All right, we'll get away from that subject here to start this siege. We've got this. The 4th Division is going to be on the siege tower, but I don't want those crossbow guys on the siege tower. I want those guys shooting, so we're going to reduce that. I do like to leave units on the ram and the siege tower because those units, of course, become autonomous. If you leave them on the ram, they will break the inner door for you. They will try to get in. And since I'm going to be focused on the siege tower, let's move the siege tower, in fact. I'm going to be focused on the siege tower. I want those guys on the ram autonomously doing their thing. Each castle has, obviously 2 different locations you can put if you have one siege tower. And I have done this long enough. I have played enough Bannerlord that I generally have picked or chosen sides that I like more. And it really is, first, it's highly subjective. Some people might argue, but it really is just experience, right? I have literally 1,000 siege assaults under my belt. And so I know a good spot of castles to attack, right? I know sort of the weaknesses, the angles that the archers have inside or outside. And these ladders over here are extraordinarily vulnerable to the courtyard. 80,000 archers can hit the guys climbing up these ladders. So even though we're going to send guys up here, these guys are going to get mangled. Now to help them a little bit, I'm going to jump on a catapult. Look at that. That's one of our companions going up first. I love it. Get some, right? This is, I can't tell actually who it was, of course, because a lot of our units are wearing very similar leather armor. But that guy was going up like Schwarzenegger. Get to the ladders now. Right, that guy's going up first, just fucking head first. I love it. All right, you can see how badly exposed the enemy is. This is going to be a joy to smoke these fuck defenders. And I don't remember exactly the number, but we're badly outnumbered here. We need to use our brain. We can't just slam our dicks against the wall here and impregnate this city. We're going to have to use some rational thought here. We're going to have to blow the shit out of these guys with catapults. You see how beautifully packed up they are on the wall there. And they don't have a lot of protection. I think because these catapults have already been damaging the wall. Of course, you also damage the wall pre-siege with your catapults. If the guys are damaging the wall, even if there's no hole, sometimes they'll be less defendable. They'll have less of those little, whatever you want to call them, those little archers that help defend the troops. There's a name for those. I can never remember. So if one of you guys wouldn't mind chucking that in there, I mean, look at that fucking beautiful shot, right? We just killed 30-something troops that are defending. That would be so hard to fight our way through those guys, especially while they're being shot by the enemy. So this is enormously important for us to do in this siege, to really weaken the defenders. A couple more shots here. Inevitably, we were going to hit some of our own troops, right? When you're flinging this Greek fire regularly onto the ramparts here, you're going to hit your own troops. There's a bunch of guys going over there to help defend the other location. We're going to probably sit here until these fireballs are expended. You can see how many enemy forces are on the walls, and they're highly vulnerable. I don't see any reason for me to stop doing what I'm doing. As long as we're still smoking the enemy here, I'm just going to sit right here and bombard the shit out of the enemy. Yeah, so most people know Martin Luther, of course. If you don't know, Martin Luther King is an American civil rights hero. He was named after the German, it's not really German, but he was from areas that are German today. This German priest, Martin Luther, was one of the foremost characters of the Reformation. And the Reformation was essentially a reaction to... there was a combination of factors, as always, but a big factor was just the incredible wealth and power and sin that a lot of the Roman Catholic bishops, priests, archbishops, and pope were living in the 14th, 15th century. The church got a little carried away, things got a little bit out of hand. They were just living like lords, and in many cases they were leading armies into war. I'm not exaggerating. There were warrior popes. They weren't probably swinging their sword, but it was like Gregory the Ninth and shit like that. In that era, any of you guys who know the historical era of these popes, these guys had concubines, they had children, and they were giving their children fiefs and shit like that. They really were basically just religious kings, and things were getting carried away. Of course, anybody who was highly devoutly religious, as Martin Luther was, they found this highly offensive. Well, the other big thing that was happening was the printing press. I think it was Gutenberg, right? Is it Mr. Gutenberg? I'd like to meet Mr. Gutenberg someday. They had developed essentially a way to spread the Bible, right? The printing press. Look at that fucking guy just hung from the window. That must have been a particularly nasty shot there. But of course, once you start printing the Bible, and they're no longer printing it in Latin where only the priest can read it, everybody's free to interpret the Bible however they want. Everybody's free to then read the Bible, and there's no such thing as a pope in the Bible, right? The Old Testament, there's no bishops and shit like that. There's no consecrated host. Basically, the Reformation, which is where we get the Protestant religion and a lot of the religions that are predominant today, happened because people were all of a sudden reading their Bibles and saying, wait a minute, this shit's not in there. We are penned up here something fierce. I'm just going to charge down here in this episode. Fuck it. We're going to play He-Man here. Maybe this is stupid. Sometimes you do stupid shit. In fact, I'm getting chased by a huge posse. This was stupid. Going to get looter beat down here. Militia beat down. I'm fucked. And yeah, I got clowned a little bit there. That's all right. We get distracted sometimes telling our fucking history. But these people were looking at it, Martin Luther and other people were looking at the Catholic Church saying, wait a minute, where'd you guys come from? This shit doesn't seem legit. I know it's been the religion for hundreds of years, but I have some big questions here. And of course, it caused all kinds of religious consternation and eventually war all through Europe. Well, a big part of that was the Renaissance, right? When the popes suddenly have more money literally than God, a lot of people start to object. You can see what a mess we've got here, and this is part of the reason I want to have this castle, this city. Oh shit, we've got some gravity issues in this episode here. I'm being a little bit sloppy here, but I'm trying to help my guys break a hole here. We're really being penned up, and these fucking asshole militia, are shooting the shit out of our troops. It looks like the main gate finally burst, so we are starting to finally push through here. But many monks, priests did live, a very, what's the best word for it? A very dutiful, faithful, sort of stingy life. And I think most people applaud that, right? When you're just trying to spread the word of God and be peaceful and help your community. Unfortunately, a lot of people in this world, if you give them access to huge amounts of resources, and they start to get rich and avarice and all the other sins start to take over, That's my favorite death sound, I think. He's like, it's a fucking great sound. You know, a lot of guys, they get sort of carried away. It's the same problem we have in capitalism where people just get incredibly avaricious and will do illegal shit, and they do Ponzi. Even though they're already hugely rich, they do Ponzi schemes to get even more rich. They're all basically like Thorin and the Hobbit, where they just get madness for gold. And on some level, the church had madness for art, for money, for tapestries, for fucking concubines, and things got carried away. I know I said I was going to do a 30-second thing there. Well, you're listening to the channel. I won't apologize, right? Sometimes we're just going to ramble. You guys have seen 300 siege assaults. You probably still got a few things out of that, even though I fought that about as sloppily as I could. I'm not drunk this episode, I promise. That was just kind of a combination of me rambling and being impatient to smash our way through. So come with us, all these fuck Aserai, Northern Empire. I now consider them the rebels, right? These guys are the nemesis pieces of shit trying to stop. All we're trying to do here is just start up a nice a utopian civilization, right? Where we don't have serfdom. And we'll, we can have some religion and stuff like that, but we're not going to have fucking popes running around with concubines, doing backroom deals with other kings to attack so-and-so because they won't marry your cousin. It shouldn't like that, right? We're going to do this the right way. Who's this pretty looking lady? We need some more companions. You're at my service. Come with me then. We will happily take her into the army. Don't get me wrong. I've got no problem with concubines, right? I mean, unless you're married, that's not cool. But like, the lords with their concubines, that's an important thing for people today to understand. There is an unbelievable, almost just a normalized amount of sleeping around by kings and queens and princes today, or back then. There's a really good reason for that. They almost never married for love. I know that's, by our modern world, that doesn't make any sense. But the majority, the overwhelming majority of nobles, kings, queens, all of them, were basically just, you're going to marry this person because it's diplomatically vital, right? They have such and such dowry, or they're the daughter of such and such king that we've been at war with for 200 years. We need peace, so you're going to marry her. And then wink, wink, her ladies, whatever they're called, ladies in waiting or whatever, the gals that would come with the queen, there's probably a half dozen gorgeous 18-year-olds, and you're like, oh, now I understand, right? And of course there was a gigantic amount of just fucking around. Also, hence the syphilis that was rampaging. Well, we leave a little garrison here, but I need some looters, right? We need our normal looter reinforcements here. I better sit up here. That was kind of sloppy. Will smack my face. Hopefully that wasn't hella loud on your guys' end there, because I got to focus a little bit more, right? This campaign still kind of hangs on the edge of a knife. If our main army is captured, there's always a chance that Hugh the Hammer gets executed. Of course, he's already done some executing. They've got, for sure, wanted dead or alive signs all over the Southern Empire, Northern Empire. Anytime there was a rebellion, right? Those poor rebels, when eventually the rebellion succumbed, they got annihilated, right? And that was part of the reason there was so much violence in the French Revolution. That was part of the reason they executed so many nobility. These motherfuckers want to fight. Come get some, you bitches. Yeah, halt. Come with us, Archeon. I'm going to kick your fucking ass. These guys, they barely have a power advantage on us. We're going to make an example out of it. What is that Joe Pesci scene in Casino? This guy's just begging to be made an example of. These fucking guys. Okay, so... Alright, so check this out. I got the beach landscape here, but we're not going to use it. We don't need it. Look at this. We've got an incredible... This is an absolutely picture-perfect Peekaboo Ridge. So if you've never seen this done before, and I imagine most of you have, if you're not real sure exactly how to pull these off, this is perfect. And I will explain this as we set this up. There's a nice undulating hill that the enemy has to come over to get to us. On the other side of that hill, it sort of slopes down to a ridge. This back ridge here, you can kind of see where there's a shadow and then the ridge behind it. we're going to put archers back here, and these guys have unbelievably good line of sight, shooting over our infantry and cavalry squares and whatnot, not infantry squares and cavalry line. This might be a battle where we have like 50 losses, even though, or 30 losses, right? This might be an incredibly efficient battle because of this setup. They're going to have to attack us because they attacked, right? So they're forced to come over that hill. And if they had 1,500 here, we would still win. This is going to be disgusting. All right, so perfect. Our shield and shock is starting to set up. Look at that long line. I don't even have to zoom in. I just know that 3rd Division, our shock troops, because those are all our women in a dress, right? There's 58 of them there. Probably 50 of those are the two-handed gals, the furious housewives. So the 6th Corps over here, we will combination square the 1st and the 6th as the enemy comes over here and hammer them with javelins. But the key is that ridge. They're going to have to slowly come over that ridge, and as they do, they're going to get hit with an incredible amount of arrows, crossbow bolts, etc. Now this 7th Corps, let's see, I'm actually going to use these guys again defensively. I didn't look real closely to see how many cavalry they have, but we're outnumbered for cavalry. So I'm just going to put these guys in a big line and pull them off their horses. Sometimes if you're badly outnumbered for cavalry, you're actually better off just punting that part of the battle. Giving up on that part of it. We're not going to try to fight their cavalry. We're just going to set our archers back there in reserve, try to keep those guys alive, and if this is a long battle, we will use their ammo later in the fight. What I mean by that is those archers are literally just standing back there, not shooting, waiting for orders. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Curiously, the enemy's down there in a tight formation, like we're going to charge them. Well, so that's why they attack. These guys are stupid, right? They're so stupid they don't understand that they have to attack us. I made a stupid mistake here too. I don't have my pole arm. So we've got this short hammer. I'm going to swing and whiff over and over again. And it's interesting that they are sitting down like that. Usually they have to attack. Okay, their cavalry is they're getting some balls here to charge. Good. I want to bait them right in here, right over to these horses, and as soon as they're within range of our archers, you give them hell, right? Fire at will. I'm just going to have a couple divisions fire here. We're not going to have everybody shooting because they're going to cycle charge. This cavalry will probably charge in and then peel out, especially after they get immolated. I mean, you can see the death spam. I don't think they killed anybody, and they got smoked. And you see 80,000 arrows fly over the horizon. They come in again here, right? We can give them another. They want another taste of our medicine, right? Have a fucking couple rounds of arrows here. You bitches come get it. If they're getting near the 3rd Corps, these women get told to charge, right? And then anything that's near them is clobbered. They're coming up with their hammers and shit, and then we'll pull them back, right? The enemy's got a little dance going on here, and we know the dance moves. Their incompetent commander is saying, "Cut them down." And he has no chance. Move out! He's barking orders, and he might as well say retreat because that's what's going to happen here. We'll pull this 3rd Corps in, and now, of course, we're just completely open fire because the rest of their forces are still going to come up to the ridge. The 7th and 8th Corps, or the 8th Corps rather, is an auxiliary division that we can charge with, but at this stage, right, it's what we got going on is working. That infantry division will come over that ridge soon, but look at this fucking fire as their archers are trying to set up, and all you hear is the enemy units screaming because they're being obliterated. I mean, they've already had 100 losses, and I don't know if we have any deaths yet, despite the fact that a lot of our troops are wearing a fucking dress. All right, our square is doing beautiful. It's attracting attention. This 2nd Cav line is doing a good job too. Those guys they're just holding there the shield. There's a death. In fact, we lost a noble. They're charging in here a little bit more aggressive, so it's going to get bloody now, but the enemy's going to for sure take the worst of this exchange. Look at our forces just shredding. The arrows are flying over here. The shock troops are shredding, but we're going to keep kiting, right? Especially since their main division's coming in. Out of my way, motherfucker. Let's move this 2nd division back. Let's get the 3rd and 6th to surround them first in the middle, and then we will collapse on it. And these guys are going to literally die in like 30 seconds. In fact, what is that? The equalizer? I'm clicking my watch right now. 19 seconds. The first corps there is attracting a little bit of attention, but not enough. Whoops, we went too fast. The 1st Division charges, 3rd Division charges. I'm going to join them here. They actually reached our archer lines, but that's not really going to matter. The 3rd and 6th both charge. The 8th charged, and the 2nd also can come forward. The 1st Division is told to charge and break out of this square, and I think they're already gone. I think that whole enemy force just vaporized. Maybe that was 12 seconds. I'll have to time it later on, or put a little stopwatch on it or something like that. But that was an absolute whipping here by our guys with no shirt. And our women in their prom dresses just fucked them up. Well, I guess 30 losses. Pretty close, right? 37, only 8 dead. Teach them a good lesson here, these stupid fucks. Their terrible haircut. Come with us. All right, so Quyaz is ours. We need to get some looters, though. We need to get some reinforcements there. You know, we do have the advantage of being able to pick up these bandits, but it's been a long time since we got anything other than a handful of desert bandits and like really weak horse archers and looters. I could really use some kind of other bandit army, you know, where we get 40 good lake rats or something like that. We're kind of having a dearth of those kind of troops. That said, we are still recruiting prisoners left and right, and vitally, right, and this is a big factor. We are now recruiting our own, right? We have these ladies in prom dresses. It's slow, but we're definitely starting to recruit a savage army of our own, and the enemy's in trouble, right? As long as we can keep our main army from being captured and Hugh the Hammer from being executed, good things are going to happen here. Now they already, I can just tell from the body language of those units that it looks like they're already gathering another army. She looks like she's being pushed into the city there, but like I said, they're not sieging, so that she's buying us some time, right? It may not be forever. Maybe they'll even bypass her and siege somewhere else. But so far, so good. And indeed, following Arion party. So let's investigate here a little bit and figure out what the fuck is going on. Yeah, indeed, you're not getting anywhere, motherfucker. Sure enough, this Northern Empire forming an army deep in our territory here. Fuck you guys. In fact, I need some raiders here. I'm going to look for some looters down here. And then, here we go. We got some looters. He just ran off, though, and Quyaz just came under siege. So you know what's going on here. The AI is sending all of its forces to the city we just took. Good. We're looking forward to defending Quyaz. We're going to pick up these voluntold looters here. There's another army down here. God, this fucking Northern Empire. I'm going to have to start executing some Northern Empire. They're just down here like roaches all over the place. It might be time to just get completely medieval on our forces here in this campaign. I'm a little reticent to do that, though, because I'm almost certain the noble, the minor clans rather, will abandon us. And I don't know if we can win this campaign without minor clans. We're not going to, obviously, we're not going to be recruiting any of these enemy noble armies into our rebellion. And so it's basically just down to the mercenaries. We're paying these noble clans, and of course, any player clans that we create. Now, we do have a very strong army here, and when you add these looters, right, we're back to near full strength. I probably should have taken a few more there so that we were all the way to full strength, but I don't think it's going to matter. The city's not yet under siege. I'm just going to ignore this little smaller army down here. We're getting another autosave, but we're going to get inside and defend here, I think. There's at least 2 armies sieging, right, because we saw the one northern army sort of hanging out in our area down there. She looks like she's getting pushed away. That's not good. There might be a big army heading to Hubyar. Still, nothing's under siege there just yet. But we saw this other Northern Empire army right here, right? This army of like 800, 900. And all of a sudden, they just beeline north to Quyaz. At the same time, it was under siege by another army. It's almost a certainty that there's 2, maybe 3 Northern Empire armies sieging Quyaz. Good. In fact, I wish this 3rd army would go there as well, because we're going to destroy them all. We just assaulted Quyaz. I just talked about how easy it is to defend. I think we could defend here against 4,000, maybe 5,000. Now, I need to get tactics up. I need this skill. Yeah, here, minus 25% of loss of troops when breaking in or out of a settlement. That's been pointed out to me before, so I think when Hugh the Hammer gets to level 43, that will be a perk we add. Yeah, you motherfucking Northern Empire forces. 2 big armies here. It's almost 3,000. But like I said, I don't think that's going to matter. We're going to lose the normal 100 and whatever something troops getting inside. But it's been a little while, right, since we've done a siege defense of Quyaz. I don't think we've done a defense for this campaign, although, of course, this campaign, I've been playing this over, about 6 weeks now. I have not had as much time to play as I have wanted to. All right, the owner of Quyaz, of course, is us. We're not going to give away vital frontier cities to our allies just yet. Make peace. Unfortunately, our dipshit allies, or dipshit, whatever you want to call them, these player clans are going to beg for peace. They're actually going to use the influence that we give them to then beg for peace like pacifists. Unfortunately, all that does is waste all of our resources because I'm never giving peace to the enemy here. And these guys, 2,600. I will wait overnight to attack them. That'll whittle down their numbers a little bit, but I also just don't want to do it at night. I want you guys to be able to see, to actually see what's going on with this siege defense. Now, Bowery Hal Castle might be under attack because that other Northern Empire force headed south, right? So we're dealing with Hubyar is besieged by Khazate. So the assault is happening, right? The enemy is starting to stack up here. All right, so they're down to 2,400. I could almost attack them in the open, but, we might lose. It might be a Pyrrhic victory. I've got this Sturgeon soldier we've got to jettison. I think it makes sense here, though, just to swallow down, the 120 or whatever forces that we're going to lose and deal with that shit. Where is this fucking guy? Here he is. Get out of our army. All right, let's go ahead and break into this shit. I'm going to make sure I have my 3 tranches of javelins. Of course, I think I do because I forgot to exchange my my polearm, but I also want my steel banner. Right, that way I have less melee damage. Most of the time in Keep Siege, you're taking melee damage because you're not getting smoked on the walls. 139 troops we lose. That's painful. Our units recruit troops when they got inside the city. I don't know if I've noticed that before. That's silly. I guess they run over real quick to the barracks and be like, yeah, we're going to recruit some people. Again, it's another beautiful setting here. Now, I learned a little bit from the AI here. Of course, I've defended Quyaz a couple, 3 times before, but this right side here, there's ladders, but they can never get in here because of this chokehold, this little choke point. I guess it's not a chokehold. That'd be a cool tactic. We're going to stretch out this 2nd division until it's just a big group of skirmishers and archers, and then we're going to block the fuck out of this little, that little ladderway on the right there. What I want is a small division because it doesn't need to be a lot of troops, and they just choke that fucking access completely in a square or shield wall right here, protected from archers. I will actually at some point drag them up the stairs, and then the enemy cannot get up those ladders, like ever, right? Because they're getting smoked by all these units down here on that platform. Now, the left side of the keep is less defendable, but it does have this nice big open area. We can have a division or 2. You can actually put archers on here, but it's really crowded. I like to get more archers right here because these guys can, of course, shoot down onto the guys coming through the gate, right? This is a really nasty city. It's probably top 8 or top 10 in the game to defend. I would say you should easily be able to defend 5 or 6 times whatever the attacking force is with this city, which I know is kind of breaking the suspense. If you're worried about us losing here, I can always fuck up and we can lose something. Sometimes sieges don't go as you plan. I have so many troops here because of the battle size mod. I can put another 100 archers and skirmishers over there. I have the 7th Corps. I mean, I just have troops aplenty here because, of course, we got in with a huge army. I think even if we had 500 or 600 troops here, we could probably defend. Try to get some troops on this. This upper one here, that stupid tent would be gone for sure if I was the governor of this city. See how you can't fucking put troops in here? I would for sure have that tent fucking removed and enlarge that platform, right? That way we can get a bunch of troops here. These guys will protect that ladder. Anybody coming up that ladder is going to get shot in the face, and they'll also protect the courtyard. I got a fire catapult there. I actually kind of like that. It could be... I kind of like it there, right? Where's the ladders? They come up here. They're going to get smoked by that fire catapult. I actually think that's fine. We'll leave that. And then we got regular catapults. We've got a great setup here. And should be able to pound the enemy pretty good. Now, hopefully I just highlighted some of the ingredients. You guys may do this a lot better than me. I have no idea. I don't pretend to be the greatest fucking player in the history of Bannerlord or the best siege defense artist, but I do have an enormous amount of experience. So usually when I talk in a manner where it seems authoritative, it's because at least there's a lot of experience backing up the recommendations I'm making. I'm still learning, right? This is a very complex game, and sometimes, you know, you could do the same thing over and over again and not learn something new, right? I try to do irregular things. This is something I've learned. If you're getting smoked on the catapult, just let your dipshit militia load it for you. Do all the hand turning of the winch and shit like that, and then take your shot. And then if you're getting smoked and shot in the face and shit like that, just get off, right? Let those guys do all the dirty work. In fact, more and more, I'm thinking I'm just going to leave this catapult alone. I'm getting shot repeatedly. It's not very defendable, right? This part of cities is variable. Some places have great locations where you can sit on the catapult and the enemy can't touch you. And then other ones are like this, where it's just... I mean, I'm down to 2/3 health, just getting shot in the face sitting on the catapult. So fuck that catapult. Let's position these guys. Look at all these are all Iron Maidens. These women, the only women we have that have some armor. They've got kind of a bronze armor look here. I'm just going to pull them to the top here and have them stand still, completely block the enemy's access down the stairs. And these guys don't have good offense, but they're really strong defensive units, which is going to be wonderful for this situation. We can flame down some fireballs here on the enemy. And all the recipes here are in place for a destructive siege assault. We just took the city. God damn it. There's a throwing dagger or something in the way of my fireballs here. There's nothing worse than like having your hammer get dropped on the ground because I literally can't get around this fucking thing. You know what it is? It's a javelin, so you know how we get around that? If it's just in your way of picking up shit, just throw one javelins, then you'll be able to add it, and then that nuisance is removed. Oh shit. Well, see, the enemy, a lot of times, they'll stack up on the ladder here. They're just charging. I'm going to have to move these ladies forward. We're going to have to get these ladies in here to cut off their access so that not only can our archers work, but also so I can get the rest of these Greek fire chucked down on the enemy. Of course, these women are not going to fight well, especially in a square. I'm going to have to do most of the work here. Fortunately, Hugh does work, right? Hugh definitely fucking works. This is a working fucking prince here. He doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. Some nobles and shit. Crush these bitches. Alright. They should be able to hold there now. And we can fire the rest of these before we get out of here. Now there's oh, god damn it, I did drop my hammer. There was a fucking shield in the way. I can't get my hammer. Where is it? God damn it. It's highlighting everything but my hammer. How brutal is this? I don't have any other weapons. I have to get that hammer. Let's see, what do we do here? I don't have a weapon. I can't even fight right now. I mean, I can use my little javelins. Come on. There we go. I was just talking about it and it almost fucked me here. We're early in this siege. If I don't have a hammer, I'm not going to be able to help much. Alright, there we go. We're doing some major damage with the Greek fire here. We got one more to throw here. These women have a nice defensive spot. Our archers are working. The desert snipers are starting to fuck the enemy up. Now let's tend to the front gate. But these women have this shit beautifully covered. Pull them down here just a little bit. I mean, the enemy's just not getting through. Right there, right that spot there. I can just fire and forget it. Alright, so there's a bit of a maelstrom, a chaotic fucking mix of fighting down in the courtyard. Let's go assess the situation here. The archer guys are doing their work over there on the left side. I might need to micromanage a little bit in the courtyard here, but this looks pretty lethal. The enemy coming up the ladders there is getting scorched with arrows. These guys here are, they're suctioning into the square. One of the disadvantages of using the Iron Maidens to hold that right side. How the fuck do I get down here? I guess I can't get down. God damn it, I'm blocked here by enemy troops. Fuck you. You make me angry. There's got to be a way for me to get down, right? Maybe I can go... we'll just fucking jump. Fuck it. We'll do a little parkour. Bannerlord style parkour. Almost fell all the way down. All right, so these guys are in great position. All these archers are scorching. But what I was saying a second ago is that we don't have a good infantry block down here. We don't have a lot of good, hard, solid, high-level infantry, right? Because we just don't have elite, noble troops. So we got to get creative here. The militia is going to have to help. We're going to have to do the best we can. With those Iron Maidens covering that right side, the right side of the city is covered for sure. But I may have to be a major presence over here to prevent the enemy from zerging up. Fortunately, I'm willing to be that major presence, right? We've got this unbelievably powerful character build with this 350 two-handed skill and 100 speed hammer with 330 athleticism. I mean, this guy is an absolute god of war. Now, that square is almost, I was going to say almost destroyed. It's badly damaged. I got all of these gals in the courtyard here, archers and whatnot, but there's almost no squares. So we're going to have to get a little creative here with that defensive process. I might even charge. We've got all these two-handed women. They're definitely better off attacking than standing still. They're kind of like my character, right? They're not going to do well in a square. I can hold my hammer straight up in the air, but I don't have a shield. Well, actually, ironically, I do have a shield. Normally, I don't. Just a whirling fucking hammer of doom. And the enemy's mauled here. If Quyaz gets sieged over and over again, I probably won't show you this over and over again. This may just have to do, right? You guys can examine the ingredients necessary here. We're going to share some units to the square. You want that square to have at least 40 guys in it. And even though I'm smoking my own units and there's actually some women in there with a hammer, I still think it's going to work. We have all these militia shooting here. I've got the 8th Corps back here. Let's move these guys a little bit more towards the center here. What is this? This is the 2nd Corps. There's a huge amount of archers. And stretch these guys out all the way to the back of the fucking wall here. And the enemy's just not getting in here, right? It's a maelstrom. It's a hurricane of death. A handful of guys are kind of sneaking in, trying to attack our archers. I'll play the guard dog for that. Show me your fucking passcode. If you guys don't have a, what did they used to call it? Like in high school, they'd be like, show me your hall pass, right? Or you get shot in the face. I'll be that person, right? The square's continuing to get the majority of attention, and I'm just going to wade back and forth, right? Watch our archers up there. You can see the 4th Corps. Those Iron Maidens have that side completely locked off. And the enemy coming through the gate here, they're just never going to win. Speed this along just a little bit. As that square breaks down, though, right, it becomes more and more viable, in my opinion, to charge here with these women. Especially since archers are starting to join the square. I just don't have a lot of units that have a shield, right? So it makes more sense to me here that we actually do a little counter charge here. All of these women with these two-handed weapons, we'll have them distracted a little bit by a square, pull them in a little bit, and let's charge with all these angry women. Fuck you bitches, right? Up they roar. And even though there's going to be a huge scrum in the middle as the enemy tries to attack, I think we have a pretty good chance of fighting it out here. And I can always shut the door with the square, right? If it starts to get a little bit out of control, we'll put that square... I'm going to have to manually drag it there. We're okay, though. The death spam is great. All these women are up here wailing away with their hammer. They've been blue-balled this whole battle, waiting to do this, so they're having a good time. I'm in here just knocking every unit around. God, he's a god of war, this guy. Come get some. Just truck everybody in sight. We can close the door now with that square, and There might have been more deaths there than us just trying to hold the square with archers, but that was a lot more fun, for sure. And it's fun beating the shit out of Legionary with fucking women with axes and looters pounding them with their little hatchets. Look at that motley crew. All the women pull back with their prom dresses. And the enemy here really is in a bad state. They're reeling. I think they're going to rout soon. There's no way they're going to be able to withstand these kind of losses. Now they're bringing up archers here, so we want to stay out of line of sight, right? We want to get some archers either thick to countershoot, basically get a whole bunch of archers shooting into the tunnel, or you want to be to the sides of the door, right? That way the archers are forced to come in. If they have no targets, they will move up, and of course they'll be a lot more vulnerable once they move up. The enemies on the walls are being scorched. The enemy has no chance here. I can actually pound a few of these guys. They're just holding their bows out. I can just slam them with my shield. Fuck you. Welcome to our city. Some militia can pound them over the head with their hammers. They're being smoked, shot in the doorway there. And I like archers that have their bow out, right? You can just fucking wail on them. You get a little hubris sometimes, but these low-level, low-armored archers are just not much of a threat. Just being trucked everywhere. And the hammer makes this satisfying thump. Just... All right. Yeah, this siege is over. Well, and indeed, almost as soon as I said it, the enemy is fleeing. You've won the battle. Now the question will be is how many rout, right? Are we going to have to chase down like 900 attackers here? I'm thinking more and more in situations like this that we may try to get troops and surround the enemy so that we don't have to fight them later. We've had some bloody battles where the enemy was able to actually retreat and then fight us again where we had significant losses. So most of the losses were militia, right? We had almost 132 losses of militia. That's a lot. And that's okay because militia is recoverable, right? Those guys are expendable. There's always, butchers and blacksmiths that we can put into some weak-ass armor, give a wooden shield and say, guess what? Right? You're on the walls today, motherfucker. All right, what do we do here? We're going to do a little editing. I will skip some of this part for you. We're going to stick a decent garrison here. And then I think we're going to reassess the situation. I need to find some looters to really fill the garrison of this city. And then we will move on from there. Well, our force is still healing there. Almost 780 troops. I've got to find some looters real bad. And things have started to turn... Okay, it's already under siege. God, we just left and Quyaz is already under siege. What a incredible onslaught we are facing here. And the worst part is all of these cities in the east under siege. Is there a single location in the east that's not under siege? Like it's easier to tell you what's not under siege. I guess Quasira, Wazi is under siege. Hubyar is under siege. Ayakis is under siege. This is incredible. So very much pressured here, and we've got to find some looters. I've got to get some reinforcements here to load up Quyaz because the enemy onslaught here is just never ending. It's kind of astonishing. And of course, when I need them the most, there's no looters to be found. So kind of searching around here a little bit desperately, and I've got to get back to Quyaz and defend it. I mean, we just took it, and it's like the enemy's coming in like mad dogs here. This is an incredible onslaught. We've got our hands full in this campaign, right? Those that are expecting, probably hoping and expecting, that we have a successful peasant revolt, there's going to be uncertainty to it. There's no question there's going to be uncertainty because of some of the rules we've applied to it. I might have to start executing these kingdoms and some of their companions to slow down this train of war. because right now it just seems utterly never ending. I mean, their troops are just never ending. All right, after gathering up some reinforcements, we barely made it back to Quyaz to defend again. The enemy continues to just slam themselves into our cities at an astonishing rate of recovery here. 2 more forces of Southern Empire sieging Quyaz, although we were able to make it back. And just some after editing highlights here, because you just watched a siege defense of Quyaz. Especially if the siege is unusual or there are unusual parts, I will give you those highlights afterwards. But for the most part, the beginning of this siege, at least the early stages of this, was very much a garden variety siege defense. We set up a pillar defense with 2 strong squares on both sides of the gate, and we probably had 100, maybe 120 archers deep in the chute pounding the enemy as they attacked those 2 squares. Of course, Hugh the Hammer got his hammer work on, obliterating everything in sight, especially these armored noble units. He does so much damage to him because of that crush damage. He really is becoming just an absolute machine of war. And then the rest of our units here held the fort before the enemy really started to get pushed back. Now, eventually, we attacked the enemy outside. That was mostly because they had a lot of infantry set up on a couple of the ladders and not very many archers, and I will let the live narration now take over. And this main archer division of the enemy is just melting away. The rest of their troops are just going to fade away like leaves under a strong breeze. I mean, you can see they have like 30 archers left. We're pushing our first corps right towards it and advancing the rest of our units here very quickly. This enemy force is going to be retreating because of the enfilade fire. We still have like maybe 100, 120 archers on top of the wall as well, so the enemy's being attacked multiple sides here. They're bringing up it looks like a whole bunch of recruits as their losses mount here, and this has really been a systematic extermination of the Southern Empire force. We'll see how much of this I include. I often just narrate and then edit over it later on. But these Southern Empire forces here made a sort of weak attempt to charge the center, and now we're just blitzing their forces outside the city. I'm also deciding to do this because I don't want them to have a bunch of retreating units like the Northern Empire earlier, where they had like 600, 700 units survive a siege, and the next thing you know, you've got to deal with that secondary wave. So an incredible amount of skirmishers, archers, crossbow ladies, and whatnot, or crossbow bower veteran, just blasting the enemy into the Stone Age here. I can't believe, actually, they're still fighting it out. Those upper forces have to be routing soon. Now, the main reason, again, we do this is because of the lack of archers, right? They had like 150 archers. By surrounding them early on, this siege defense became very much perfunctory here. These guys have no idea what they're doing. These archers, it's like they sent 9 archers over here to reform, and they're like, all right, you guys, we have a problem on our left flank. Let's send 9 archers. Well, you needed 900, not 9. And it looks like they finally got the message that they're not going to be able to take this city. So very different than that first siege, at least the secondary stages here with this sally out. I wonder if they'll attack here. I'm just going to get in their way and like try to provoke them to attack. I don't want all these Southern Empire forces attacking us next week, right? This is it's essential that we pound as many of these guys as we can. Fucking Sergeant Crossbow, get off. Now they got a Lord coming up against me. Get him, looters. Sweet, the fucking looters mobbed the Lord here. I love it. I'll try to kick that guy to the ground and then have the looters beat him down. I always love to see looters. They're just whacking these Imperial Elite cataphracts. Get that guy. They're pounding him with their little hammer. Look at this guy. He's coming up with it. It looks like he's got a ball peen hammer there. He's been pounding in little masonry blocks all day, and he gets some revenge with his hammer. And our army gets revenge here, right? This Southern Empire force that has really been a thorn in our side gets obliterated here in the second defense of Quyaz. It looks like there's a few more troops to round up here. but I'm also looking down. This episode's going to be pushing an hour and a half, so we're gonna go ahead and start to wrap this episode up. Now, obviously, I've got some problems here, right? We are being assaulted by an unbelievable amount of troops, and we're going to have to get creative here with reinforcements. We do have these player clans. We do have looters that we can recruit from the outside, but what I need more than one leg to do all the different ass kicking that we're doing here. So hopefully, Zahara the Spice Vendor, hopefully some of these other companions that we've turned into player clans, in combination with a few minor clans, can start to help us turn the tide here. Because right now it doesn't feel like a tide; it feels like a tidal wave. Now, please leave any comments you have, any ideas you might have about the direction of this campaign, of future campaigns. Right? I know there's a lot of guys that would like to see a Realm of Thrones playthrough. If that's your interest, you just gotta let me know, fellas. And if I have time in the future, I will endeavor to tackle the Realm of Thrones mod. Here, we're under duress, but we are making hay, right? We just blasted them out of Quyaz. And with all that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. So I appreciate you, fellas. Again, leave any comments. Always hit that like button on the way out. I appreciate that. And with all that said, I will see you, fellas, next time.